Hey guys, welcome. So Extus here, and if you're watching this interview anywhere else but our private community, which is High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle, be sure to come join us, okay? Because we have some awesome individuals here. We have an awesome community. If you're a coach, consultant, or service provider who needs any type of help with whether it's marketing, business growth, or whatever, we'd love to have you inside of the High Ticket Client Attraction Insider Circle. Now, with that being said, right now I want to introduce you to a new friend of mine, Liza Escada. And Liza, she has an amazing story in terms of what she does and who she helps. And I really wanted to introduce her to you today. So with that being said, welcome, Liza.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. So Liza, tell us, what is it that you do?
Well, I am a trademark attorney. So I specialize in trademark registration and anything related to small businesses. So anything from forming a business on to having its day-to-day function, protecting IP. I work with clients every step of the way in developing and growing their business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you said a trademark attorney?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess how did you get started as a trademark attorney? How does that, what was your journey?
Well, actually, I started off wanting to do transactional law. I'm kind of a homebody, and I like research quite a bit. So when I was in law school, I recognized pretty quickly that I wanted to do a lot of transactional law, things like writing contracts, researching. I like that one-on-one relationship with clients versus litigation and, being in court, which, I'm in court now and then for my clients, but typically my practice is transactional. So trademark registration is just right up my alley. I have a lot of one-on-ones with the clients. I get to build close relationships with them. Like I said, walk them every step of the way. And I don't know, it's a very happy area of law. It's not like divorce or bankruptcy where, there's a heavy load that you carry as an attorney, the relationship you built with your clients. Pretty happy area of law. So I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. And you said in terms of a trademark registration. So in essence, when would someone need your services? Where are they typically at in their business when they would say, okay, I need to speak to Liza?
Okay, well, it's actually much sooner than people recognize. I suggest that people get their trademark registration as soon as they pick their brand name. So what happens quite often is someone will pick a brand name, right, which they give a lot of to. Where everyone who's a business owner knows how much thought goes into planning your business. So you pick a brand name, and first step, people usually get an LLC. So they get an LLC in their state or whatever entity they choose, and they feel like, okay, it was available, it's mine, nobody else has this business name, and then they build their website, get their domain, and the next few steps. But what happens is having a domain and having an entity like an LLC registered in your state doesn't guarantee that someone else is not doing business under that same name. So you can build your business, build your website, build your brand, get your logo, and then you find out that someone else has the exact same name. And unfortunately, sometimes people find out because they get a cease and desist letter telling them, hey, you need to stop using this name because it's already taken. So in order to avoid that, I recommend that business owners do a trademark search pretty early on. Once you've picked out your name, do a search, hire an attorney to do a really extensive search on the name and make sure that no one else has it, not just in your industry, but in any related industries or in any way. Maybe it's not even in your industry, but if it's someone who has the same name and it potentially could cause confusion in the market, that's going to be issues as far as getting the registration approved. So I suggest that people do a search pretty early on and then decide to register their name if it's available before they make that time and monetary commitment to a name they may not be able to stick with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So you're ultimately suggesting that whenever they do have an idea for the name that they're going to go with long term, make sure they do some type of research. And I guess how does research typically look? Is it just going on Google and just type in the stuff up? What does research typically look like in that case?
Okay, so a research, a lot of people do that. They go on Google, they'll go on the USPTO, the United States Patent and Trademark Office website, and they'll go do a test search on there. Is a good start. So that will tell you if there's someone else using that name. But what I do as an attorney is a much more extensive search. I have a particular software that attorneys have access to
Mm-hmm.
that does a more comprehensive search. And even if you just went on the USPTO website and did a test search, you want to do it extremely. You want to make it broad. Like I said, you might be selling a good, so you don't think you're going to be in conflict with someone who's selling a service, but you might be. There's so many international classes where you can register your trademark, whether it's a good or service. So it has to be a really good extensive search, and that's where a trademark attorney comes in. That's the first step in registering your trademark, is to do a really good search. I do that with my clients, and then we go over all the results, and they know going into the registration whether there might be a potential conflict or whether there's not a potential conflict. They go in it 100% knowing what the chances are of getting this brand name registered.
Mm-hmm. Okay, perfect. So I guess one thing you said as well too is they need to reach out sooner, because as you said, most people, I guess, by the time they reach out to you, it's already like, well, why didn't you reach out a little bit sooner, right? So I guess based
Right.
on that, what do you see in terms of if someone waits too long, what typically happens if they don't find you in time? What could happen?
What could happen is they may have to rebrand. And I have a client right now who's struggling with this. This client has a product, and they've been selling the product, and they have their LLC, they have their domain, they have a product in production, but they never got the trademark. So they tried to do it on their own without an attorney, try to go through the trademark process, and they hit roadblocks because it can be a little tricky, a little complicated. So then that's where I came in, and now I'm trying to assist them. The thing is, though, there is another trademark out there. It's a word that's very similar to theirs.
Yeah.
It's spelled the same. The pronunciation is slightly different, but I mean, that's not enough of a differentiation. So there's a really, it's an uphill battle for them to be able to now get the trademark because someone else has it. So the roadblock that a client is going to hit is possibly having to rebrand. So now they have to change the name of their LLC or do a DBA, change the name of the product so that it's not infringing on someone else.
Mm-hmm. And that's pretty time consuming and pretty costly if someone had to go through that
Right.
process,
A
right?
rebrand is time consuming, and it is costly, because if you have logos, if you have stationery, you have shirts, you have your website, you have, the product with the name on it, you have labels, all of these things you're going to have to redo. So all that money that you spent on it, was for nothing, and now you need to start over again with a different brand.
Mm-hmm. And how does it work as a trademark attorney? Is it are you national, global? Are there specific areas you work through, or is it just I guess with the internet day and age, it's a global thing?
Right. Okay. So I'm licensed to work in the U.S. So I'm licensed in Michigan as far as the state bar, and as far as trademarks go, those are federal, so they're national. So I can register trademarks in any state. So you can have a trademark, which is the most common thing you do, is you register here in the U.S. with the USO. There are international trademarks. There's a lot of international commerce, obviously, because of the internet now. There used to not be as much of a demand for trademarks or the need to protect your product as there is now. However, there are other, like in Canada, for example. I spoke to somebody this week that has they live in Canada, but they want the U.S. Trademark because they're so close to the border, and they're in Windsor. Where I'm in Michigan, so Windsor's like 30 minutes from here. Canada is really close. So they're going to be doing a lot of business here. Plus, they do their business online, and a lot of their client base is in the U.S. So it benefits them to have the USPTO US trademark. But there are reasons to have international trademarks as well in some cases.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And something you mentioned, and something I like to do as well too, because I know that because for myself, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, and we work for a lot of clients who come in where they're struggling with the business, struggling to get clients, and we help them set up systems to get consistent clients. And whenever an individual comes in, the questions they typically ask is typically not the right question. So I guess from your experience, what questions should be asked? Because I know there's something called you don't know what you don't know, right? So what questions
Right.
should someone ask in terms of your services if they would need it, or something they would, a misconception they typically have as far as the way they should do it versus the better approach they should take? What are your thoughts?
Okay, it's funny you use that phrase because I use that phrase constantly. You don't know what you don't know, so you don't know where to start, which is why I always recommend for people to turn to experts and not just attorneys. I constantly tell people you need an accountant as well. You need experts to turn to so that you know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing this. So misconceptions when it comes to trademarks, there's two big ones. The first one is not everyone, but a lot of people think if you register your entity in your state, then you have trademark protection. So if you register as an LLC in Michigan and you're doing business online, a lot of people will think, well, I've got my LLC, that gives me protection. No one else can have this business name because nobody else in Michigan had it when I registered it, so I'm protected. You're not, because an LLC gives you liability protection. It has nothing to do with the brand name, the business name. It has nothing to do with the potential that you have to maybe be infringing on someone else that has that name. And it doesn't give you any protection if someone else uses the name and infringes on you. So an LLC does not give any kind of brand protection or infringement protection. The second misconception that I see quite often is people feel similarly if they have a domain name. So they get the domain name, and again, they think they're good. They have this domain name. No one else can have it because you own it. So they feel that no one else can do business under that name, and that's a misconception as well. Other people can do business under that name. It doesn't take much to, add an S at the end of a domain name or add another word or something, and someone's doing business under the same business name. So those are the two biggest misconceptions that I see when it comes to trademarks.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, just so I can understand, so you said in terms of business names, is it how does it work? So let's say I'm in Indiana. So if I register my business in Indiana with a certain name, could someone in a different state use that same name as well too? Is that what you're saying, or?
Yes. So registering your LLC, your entity, that's by state. So you can register your name, like like for example, like my social media handle that I go by is Lawyer Liza Ann. Say I get an LLC in Michigan, that's Lawyer Liza Ann. There could be another Lawyer Liza Ann in Indiana, in Ohio near me. Someone else could do business in their state with that company name. But the difference is if you're doing business crossing state boundaries in commerce, then you have that potential to intersect. Like I'll have that potential to intersect with the other Lawyer Liza Ann online, and there's likely going to be confusion. So there can be someone in another state with your exact business name. So the way to protect yourself is to have a federal registration. So this protects you, in all states. Now, if you have a business like back in the day when maybe you had a business 20, 25, 30 years ago, and you had a little shop in town, you're not going to intersect with the other Lawyer Liza Ann in Indiana if I'm in Michigan. But now all businesses are typically online. Everyone's online. There's you cross state borders and commerce constantly. So that's when the need arises to differentiate between two different businesses.
Okay, perfect. And what about client-wise? Because I know in myself, as we run our business, there's an ideal client for us, an ideal person for us. In terms of in terms of ideal clients for you, do you see a certain type of business owner, a certain type of individual? It's just like they'll just, in essence, need your services. Is there a certain type of business they run that you find that situation, or does it vary quite widely?
Yeah, there actually is. I find that there's two different types of clients that I get, and it's typically only these two different types. It's either the startup that's doing the research right now, and they want to know what they need to get done. So that client is perfect for me, because if you're a new business and you're doing your research for your brand name, I mean, that's what I'm here for the trademarks, for registering your LLC, for contracts, business plans, all of that is what I do. So that's a wonderful client for me. I have all the services that they need to get their business going. The other type of client that I see is someone who's been in business for a while, and that they've had no issues. Everything's been going along fine, but now they've hit a road bump and they realize that they need a trademark registration because either someone else is using their name or something similar, or they're afraid that's going to happen. And I see this so often with taglines. If you have a business where it's your name and then you have this very common tagline that you it's part of your logo, I see that happen where someone says, "Oh, I like that," and they start using it, and you start seeing other people in your industry starting to look a little similar to your business. And that's the other client that I have, where they're encountering potential infringement, and they're concerned and want to register. Registering first, it's a big deal. It's a big deal first to register. It's easier for you to prove your rights that you own this trademark. So it's important.
Yeah. And how long does your process take in terms of when you get a client and having to go through the process? How does that typically look, that engagement?
It's a little bit timely, to be honest with you. What the initial process is quick. A search, in my situation, I'll speak for myself, a search for me to do a search for a client, I can do that in a couple of days. So the client decides, hey, I want this trademark, let's start the process. I can look for it, give them a report, we review it, all within a couple of days. The filing of the registration, again, it's not going to be that timely. We talk, we make sure we're going forward with it, we review the application, I can get that done, easy peasy, pretty fast. Where we hit the road bump is getting that registration back from the USPTO. So it's going to take about 2 to 3 months to hear something back from the USPTO. What happens is the registration, the file is assigned to an attorney on the USPTO board, and they've got their own workload. It's timely process for them to receive this application. It's assigned to them. They look at it, they start to make progress, maybe they have questions and reach out to us. At that point, it's a good 2 to 3 months after the application before they've even looked at it. At that point, if they have any concerns, if they think maybe there's another mark out there that could be similar to yours, they will reach out in what's called an office action, and basically tell you there's another mark out there, we don't want to register it for reasons A, B, or C. And at that point, it's up to the attorney to, with the client, send back an answer to this office action. So that's where it takes long, because they won't see it for 2 to 3 months, and then they send us this, this correspondence. We need to look at it, review, talk about it, send it back. So the process could take anywhere from 6 to 18 months to get that registration finalized.
Okay, perfect. So I guess ultimately what you're saying here is that it would make sense to reach out to you as soon as you have any questions about this type of process, because if not, it could take you the process is going to
take a little while.
Way long. And I know that so much with my clients as well, with individuals who they've either reached out to us or want to work with us, and we have a conversation today, and they might say, well, I'll reach out next week or next month or something. And then that time they take to reach out, it costs them so much, and they're not even aware of it, but it costs so much in terms of, well, now we're just getting started, but we're like several months late, and now that's going to push everything back. So based on what you do, it definitely sounds like if someone is listening to this right now, I highly recommend reaching out to Liza, because she is definitely an expert at this. Now let's talk about a few wins as far as with clients, people you've worked with before. Do you have any kind of success stories of wins you've had for individuals you've helped with this process?
I do. And one thing that I tell new potential clients about the process that I've worked with before is I have clients as well who, like the first example that I gave you, they went through the registration process on their own, and then they hit a road bump. Maybe they got an office action and they don't know what to do with it. So they come to me. So the biggest thing that I tell as far as wins is getting that response, getting an office action from the USPTO is not a no. It's not a definite no, you can't have this registration. It's the part where we start to present our argument. It gives us an opportunity to argue for why we should have this registration. So based on that, I like to tell potential clients that you can easily get a win. It's not always a no. It looks like a no sometimes. It looks like they're saying, no, there's absolutely no way we're giving you this registration because this other company has a very similar name. It's not always a no. A lot of attorneys, myself included, good argument, good research, know what you're going in with. Again, back to that search. You do a good search, you do the registration, and you have an idea of what the USPTO is going to come back with, and you're ready for it. You've got your case law, you've got your examples, you've got your argument set to go.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And in terms of a vision for your clients, do you have a vision that you hold? Because I know for myself, as I grew my business, at first when I first started off, it was just like, here's what I want to do. But then as a coach, as a consultant, you now realize, okay, it's not just about you, it's about the client. And then what's the vision that you have for them? Like, why are you doing this? So I guess what's your why? What's your vision?
Well, I love to see people do things the right way so they can grow their business. I mean, I'm a business owner. I have my law firm. We all know how hard it is to start your business. You've got this dream, you've got this idea, you have this plan, you take all this time to implement it. I like to see people do things right and be protected so that they can move forward. It's devastating to either start over in rebranding, for example, or another thing that I've seen is back to business formation. A lot of times people will form a business, say with a friend or a buddy, and they don't put things in writing. And there's often not the biggest thing I see is not fraud, it's miscommunication. So a partnership will fall apart, things will slip through the cracks, they'll owe money that didn't get paid, things will happen. And it's all been because of miscommunication, because people in the LLC didn't really know what their roles were. They thought they knew, they didn't put it down on paper, because a lot of times I see friends doing this and they've always thought they were on the same page with the other person, so they didn't put things in writing, and here we have this big mess, or the partnership's dissolved. So I like to see people do their business right and have a good legal foundation so that they can take this dream that they've had and really see it through to success.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So I guess what a little bit of bragging here. So what makes you the go-to person? Because I'm sure there might be a few other people who do what you do, but what would you say makes you a cut above the rest in terms of helping people with solve this problem that you help them solve?
Well, I like to build really personal relationships with my clients. I mean, I like to help them in everything that there is to do. First of all, when I purchase something, I want to know everything there is to know about it. I mean, I like to research. It's just part of my personality. A lot of people are like that. I know a lot of lawyers are like that. I like to research everything and know everything before I move forward with anything. So I provide that for my clients. I consult with them, ad nauseum, as much as they want. If they have any questions, they know they can call me at any time throughout the process. So when we start this relationship, they know what they're getting into. They know why we're doing something. They know all about it. So I bring that personal relationship to the table with my clients. And kind of like you're saying, you're talking about being a business coach and everything you do for your clients. I tend to end up having a more rounded relationship with them, because we'll build an LLC or we'll do the trademark registration, and then later down the line, maybe they're expanding or they need contracts for a venue or for a contract employee, and then I come in and I do that for them as well. So there's this nice cohesive relationship where no matter what they need legally with their business, I'm able to provide for them beyond just the registration or the initial formation. So I'm with them from beginning to the end.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Now, in terms of if someone wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to reach out to you?
Well, the best way to reach out to me is, well, on social media, my social media handle on all platforms is Lawyer Liza Ann. I can give you my phone number. I have a website that's under construction right now, so maybe probably not a good idea to give you that. I mean, I can give you the website, but it won't be back up for about a week or two. So the website is lawyerlizaann.com. And my phone number is 248-494-4364. And on social media, on the website, I always have a link to my calendar. So if you find me on social media, there's going to be a link to my calendar. So easy to just go online, click that, pick a day and time that you want me to call you, and it's done, and I'll give you a call at that time.
Love it. Awesome. So thank you so much, Liza. So guys, if you're watching it right now with Liza, all the links she just shared, depending on where you're watching it, they'll be right below. So a link to a calendar, email address, phone number, and website, they should all be below this video. So if you need to get in touch with her, if you got to get a hold of her, be sure to use one of those links. So I guess, Liza, with that being said, any final thoughts before we sum it up?
Well, I want to thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate the opportunity. I loved hanging out with you. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to give some direction.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Well, thank you again. Thank you for being here, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.